Welcome back into another Hog Zone with Locked On, and we got the whole cast, well, almost the whole cast in studio today.
Let's go.
We've got Tyler Cass on the end, Nick Luttrell here, Alex Stewart on this side of the desk, and fellas, sorry you had to be here for this particular one. I don't know if we have to talk about it, do we?
I think isn't this what the show is about?
We might be contractually obligated to discuss.
How great was that Arkansas win over Arkansas State? Can we just go back?
It was
and
wonderful. Yeah, let's
take
jump
a
in
look
the
at
way back machine, the member bears. Yeah, that was terrific. I guess, though, we're going to have to face some harsh realities here. Arkansas, Notre Dame, if you could call it a game today, 56-13 in favor of the Irish. I mean, at this point, we would usually kind of go over the flow of the game, talk about what happened, go play by play. But I mean, basically, from the start, it was just all Notre Dame, and they never really looked back. 6 for 6 scoring. They scored every single drive in the first half. Arkansas, not great. I mean, Jeremiah Love, 4 touchdowns. It was just not good. So, I mean, if I'll kind of open up the desk to you guys if there's something that really stuck out to you. But I think to summarize it, all gold everything, quoting the great philosopher Trinidad James.
I think further summarizing it, I think not everyone expected Arkansas to win this game.
Right.
Even at the beginning of the year, they knew it was going to be a challenge.
Sure.
And even when you play, Notre Dame was a top 10, top 15 preseason team. They fell off a little bit as the season went along because they lost to 2 really good teams.
Right.
And I think people said,
by really small margins.
By really small margins.
Combined, to make your point, combined by 4 points. Number 2, Miami, and number 9, Texas A&M lost those 2 combined by 4 points.
Yeah, so I think people just saw the record and saw Notre Dame is 1-2,
right?
And they're the number 22 team in the country, and so Arkansas may have a chance in this game. And I did think Arkansas might have a chance in this game, and it was pretty clear pretty early on that they had no chance. And that wasn't just, hey, the defense is struggling, because we kind of knew the defense would struggle because that's how it's been all season long. It was offense had maybe 1 or 2 good possessions, but that was it. That was maybe the most surprising or disappointing part of this was because Notre Dame's secondary hasn't been good most of the season, and Arkansas's passing offense has been like one of the best in the country. Besides turning the ball over, they've been one of the best in the country, and they just did not show their potential. And it's disappointing when you can't get up for a game like this.
Look, you said they could have had a chance and they didn't. I'll take that a step further. They should have had a chance. There's no world where, as a program, Arkansas should be expected to get blown out by Notre Dame. Should they be favored? Maybe not every time, every year, but you on your home turf in front of the 10th biggest crowd in Razorback Stadium history, you should be at least in a spot where you are competitive. And I think that was the biggest thing for me today was there was just we saw a team almost basically let go of the rope. And that hadn't been the case. The last 2 losses, obviously, came right down to the wire. We saw an Arkansas team that even in blowout wins was still showing a little competitive fire in the second half against Alabama, A&M, and Arkansas State. And then in this game, it just went away. I mean, even in the last Notre Dame touchdown in the first half, you had half the Arkansas defense jogging. That was
disappointing.
It was disrespectful, honestly, to 75,000 people who showed up to Razorback Stadium.
Well, you want to talk about disrespectful. That fake punt when the game was already in. That was disrespectful, all caps. But I'm actually glad, Tyler, that you brought up the crowd. I mean, 75,000 plus on hand to watch that football game. The pregame energy was immaculate. I don't know that I've ever seen Razorback Stadium with that many people trying to get in ahead of kickoff. It's about you guys, well, Tyler, you used to work here. It's about a 20-minute drive from the station down to Razorback Stadium. Yeah. It took us an hour and 15 minutes to get there. That's how many people were locked in and ready for this game. And you would think that they might be the team might be able to bring the juice off of that, but they just fell flat. And I just want to go to their first drive, not going for it on that 4th down. They decided to kick a field goal. I get you need to take points where you can get them, but that felt like a must because field goals are not going to win against a team that you laid out is very great. We actually have some stats here, if our back room can pull it up as we discuss this, just to see the discrepancy. Notre Dame, you need to score touchdowns. Yeah, look at this. Passing, their quarterback went for 354 yards. Price, 86 on the ground. 641 total yards, guys. 420 of those for Notre Dame came in the first half. They also got up 42 points. When you go up against an offense like that, you know you need points. I'm a little surprised they didn't go for that, and I think it just kind of snowballed from that first possession for Arkansas.
Yeah, have to be more aggressive. Yeah.
What it did was it set the tone. Yes, players have to make plays, but the coaching staff is in charge of getting the guys up for games and then making those decisions. And that decision from the get-go, like I said, it was settling. It made it seem like, okay, Arkansas is okay with settling for 3. Notre Dame wasn't. Like we said, they went and scored 6 touchdowns in a row. And if you're Sam Pitman, did you know that Notre Dame was going to do that for the entire first half? Maybe not explicitly, but
you knew they'd
realistic about how everything has gone this season. You knew that you were going to need points. You were in a prime position to potentially get more, or at least send that message to your team. Hey, guys, we are aggressive. We are going for it. We are the underdog in our own stadium. And I mean, if Taylor Green had walked out there on 4th and 3, 4th and 4, whatever it was, that stadium would have been electric.
Well, and that's the thing, too, is even if they don't get it, the fans understand that's a place where we probably should have gone for it, and we can accept that decision. Whereas you're looking back on kicking the field goal, and it's like, Coach, why didn't we go for that? And actually, I'm glad you did bring up Sam Pitman and sort of his expectations of this game. We have a soundbite from the head hog. If we can go ahead and roll that here on his surprise on what transpired on the field, because he seems just as shocked as we are here on the desk.
I will say this, I'm as surprised that this happened today as anybody. And because I really felt like we were locked in and ready for the challenge that they have. They have a really good team, I get it, but not one to embarrass us like that.
I mean, he said it. Embarrassed, I think, is the right word for what happened. Yeah,
I respect Sam Pitman for always being so candid with the media and multiple times saying, I don't know, and to questions. Thankfully, he didn't say that today. I think he recognized. I think there was one point in the press conference when he was starting to say it, and he was like, I'm not so sure, or something like that. I respect his genuineness of saying that was embarrassing. And you can say what you want about Sam Pitman. He gets that, at least. He gets that it was embarrassing. He understands he's on the hot seat. He didn't necessarily say that today, but he's said that in the past. So he certainly understands how big this moment is for him to try to keep his job. And I think he still wants to. I think he still wants to be here. I know we'll talk more about this later, but it was an embarrassing loss.
Yeah, and you know, I think the offense has covered up a lot of the errors and made people forget throughout the course of the year. This was the first time that they didn't score multiple touchdowns in a game. I mean, if we can pop those stats back up and look at the Hog side of things again, you go down the list. Taylor Green, 17 of 32 for 207 yards. He was also their leading rusher. Their leading receiver, just 73 yards. In fact, Taylor said after the game he felt like the offense moved the ball pretty well. And they did. The points just weren't there. But when the points aren't there, it really exposes, Tyler, sort of the deficiencies that this team has. And that was full display.
First off, though, shout out to the points, because the one touchdown came in the most entertaining possible
The most
way.
electric play in all of sports.
6'8", 330, something along those lines for Shaq McRoy. We love a big man touchdown.
Big man touchdown.
Yeah. And that should have set the tone. I mean, at that point, that made it a one-score game once again. Everyone's hyped up for Shaq, and, well, then they go down. They give up another touchdown, and that's that. But to your point, the offense, it has to start taking a toll when you realize as an offense, if we don't score a touchdown every possession, we probably lose. And we've seen the last 2 games how much they've struggled in the second half. They did that again mightily today. I mean, no points in the second half, but those first half struggles were kind of there. And Sam Pitman was asked about that after the game, say, hey, do you think the offense is feeling too much pressure to score all the time? And he, again, very candid, said, we can say that if we want to give them an excuse. And it is an excuse to say that's one of the reasons, but it doesn't, take the load entirely off them. They were off their game a little bit today, and even when they got, Taylor Green ripped off that one monster run to get them down in the red zone, and then, boom, just back-to-back negative plays, and they had to settle for a field goal. It just, one step forward, 2 steps back in the most literal way possible.
Yeah, and that, results here, I'm looking at the stats, the 8th largest margin of defeat at home for the Razorbacks, and their biggest loss at home since 2020. That one, a 52-3 loss to Alabama. Hey, we have plenty more to talk about this game, but we got to send you off to a commercial break. Before we break down, will the Head Hogs still be here this season? We'll find out and discuss it coming up after this.
Zone with Locked On Razorbacks is sponsored by Bet Saracen, Arkansas's favorite sports betting app.
Well, Welcome back into Hog Zone with Locked On. Alex, Nick, and Tyler here holding it down after Arkansas's 56-13 loss to the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Should mention they are the 22nd ranked team in the country, lost to number 2 and number 9 by a combined 4 points. I don't know that makes the sting any less, but if it does for somebody out there, I'm glad I could help out. We teased it here at the end of that first block, talking about Sam Pitman. Just when you look at that score, when you look at the 640-plus total yards for Notre Dame, Arkansas not scoring 2 touchdowns in a single game for the first time all season, and you can just go down the list. There's a lot of frustration rising for this team, but it's not just the team. It's not just in the fan base. The head hog actually had something to say about it, so let's jump right into that sound here before we start discussing more.
I understand. I mean, I get it. If I was a fan, I'd be mad at me too. I'd be frustrated as hell with me. But here's what I'll say. As long as I'm the head coach at Arkansas, I'm going to fight my butt off to get the guys out there. And how long that is, it is partly up to me because of what we put on the field. But that's not my call. And if I'm worried about that, all the time, I won't be able to do as good a job as I possibly can. But I will say this, if I was the fans, I'd be mad at me too.
So clearly frustration building, and that frustration, depending on where it's placed, could lead to change. Sam Pitman spoke on that too. One more time from the head hog before you have to listen to us again.
Possibly. I mean, I've got some time to, think about some things, and possibly.
So that possibly. In regards to change, they asked at the press conference post-game, heading into this bye week here, they do have a bye week, can we expect some change? And the answer was possibly. Guys, nobody wants to talk about this, but we have to address what is going on out in the ether in Razorback Nation, or we wouldn't be doing our job. There's a lot of people calling for a lot of change. Where do you guys think that might come? Where does it start? And do you think there should be any?
It definitely starts on the defensive side of the ball, even though both sides of the ball were terrible today, and in some ways Sam Pitman does deserve to be fired. I think if you're going to make a change, and if Sam Pittman's going to stay around, which it kind of seems like he is, at least for the next week or the next few weeks, I would guess, you have to make a change, and I think that starts with probably defensive coordinator Travis Williams, which kind of hurts to say because
he's so loved.
He's so loved, and he's just a fun, lovable guy. And I've thought that about a lot of coaches. I've thought that about head coaches. There were some head coaches that were here for a little bit. You remember John L. Smith? He was fun just because he smiled. Yeah, he smiled, so he's a fun guy. But if you don't win games, if you don't play good football, if you can't motivate your team to tackle well and execute the things that you need to execute, then it makes sense for you to step aside and to not have a job. And so I think if you're going to make a change, I feel like it has to start with the defensive side of the ball and probably Travis Williams.
And look, if I may just very quickly to add some context to that, I don't have the exact numbers, but when you average out the last 3 games, the defense has given up about 40 poinst per game, and you just can't have that.
Right.
Again, I don't have the exact numbers. I'm just ballparking here, but you're 32, 41, and then 56 today. That is about 40 points per game, and that just can't happen. And you expect for your team to be competitive in these ball games, Tyler.
It doesn't matter how good your offense is. If you're tasked with, hey, you got to score 50 points, otherwise we're definitely losing. There's not an offense in the history of college football that would say, oh yeah, we're going to win 10 games. You might win a couple. We've seen some great offensive explosions from this team. But it's not happening. And
unless you're Colt Brennan in Hawaii. Boy, throwback to anybody that remembers that. Sorry, I just give my boy some love there.
Shout out to anyone who was staying up till 2, 3 a.m. to watch that man throw for, 50, 60 touchdowns?
It was ridiculous. Video game number. Sorry for that aside. That Hawaii offense was insane. Please, I'm sorry.
And maybe they could have survived this year's Arkansas's defense and made it to a bowl game. Not very many other teams can.
Right.
Also, Arkansas is not playing Hawaii's schedule. It's only going to get tougher from here. I mean, after the bye week, you got to go on the road to Tennessee, and it just spiraled. I mean, there's an A&M team that beat this Notre Dame team still waiting for you. And a Tennessee team, like I said, that's probably still angry about last year, and this time they get to be at home, and they got college football playoff hopes. So no one's ever going to take it easy on you in college football. You're never going to get an easy schedule in the SEC. this is the easiest 5-game stretch they were going to have all year, and they're 2-3.
Yeah, looking at the rest of it, just to sort of set this up, bye week this week at Tennessee, at home against the top 10 Texas A&M team, at home against Auburn, bye week. Auburn, by the way, sitting just outside the top 25. Then after that second bye week, on the road at LSU, who just lost to Ole Miss, but they'll still be ranked.
Yeah.
At Texas, who granted hasn't looked tremendous this year. And then finally at home against Mizzou, every team except for Auburn and who am I missing here? Mississippi State, yeah, in there as well, are not ranked.
Yeah.
But Mississippi State is also just outside the top 25.
Yeah, they're trending.
Auburn both much improved from last year so far, at least as well. So
yeah, those will still be tough games. I think it's still I think Arkansas is still capable of winning some of those games. Like, I don't think the season is completely over. Like, I know it's like the worst performance we could possibly hope for today out of Arkansas, but I'm not ready to say like they're going to lose every single game and you should fire everybody. I know fans probably feel that way, the kind of extremist fans that haven't liked Sam Pitman for years now, but I'm not ready for that.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up. I think that's the loudest contingency of Razorback fans are calling for Sam Pitman to be fired. And we actually pulled up how they can buy his contract out, and it is a unique one. If we can pop it up on the screen here for folks to check out. So he has to have, say they fire him, since 2021, if his overall record is over 500, which means he's won more games than he's lost, the buyout is $9.3 million. If his record since 2021 is under 500, meaning he's lost more games than he's won, the buyout is $5.7 million. He is currently 29 and 26 since 2021. So to me, I'm actually going to take the position of being on Sam Pittman's side with this equation.
Yeah.
I think it's a win-win for Razorback fans and Razorback Nation as a whole. He either, A, turns this team around, and they're possibly in playoff contention at 9-3 if they were to win out, beating all those ranked teams. Look, good. I'm just saying, best case scenario, 9-3, he turns it around. Great, we have a good team again.
Yeah.
Or he continues to lose, you let him finish out the season, he kind of bows away in dignity, and you owe him less, and there's more money for a coaching search this offseason. Plus, the coaching pool right now, who are you going to go get? Mike Gundy? John Gruden? I know, Tyler's favorite.
Jay Gruden? No. Look, I'll slightly take the other side there and go with this. $3.6 million, that's the difference. Mm-hmm. That is a hefty chunk of change. That is a lot of money in the real world. In the college football world, and especially the competitive college football world, it's not that much money. And if Arkansas actually legitimately wants to be a program that is competing in the top half of the SEC, which I think they have not been and have not been for a long time, but at least Hunter Yurachek talks like he wants to be, then $3.6 million can't be the thing that is making a decision for you. If you believe Sam Pittman can turn this around, you give him the rope and you let him try and turn it around. Mm-hmm. If you don't believe he's the man for the job, you got to cut loose. And I'll say this, there might not be a lot of coaches available right now, but every week you're adding someone else to that search. I mean, we're looking at UCLA, Virginia Tech, and Oklahoma State already underway with a coaching search. Florida might not be too far behind.
Right.
They've already got a little bit of a head start. And from a recruiting standpoint, if we're talking about a lame duck head coach, someone who, he's probably fired at the end of the year, but if he pulls off a miracle, he's not. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to start seeing decommits. It's really hard for a staff to go out and try and bring in guys for next year, which we know in the day of the portal matters a little less, but is still important. If they can't say, hey, you're going to come play for me next year, or you're going to come play for me in 2 years. So the longer that you wait, the more you put yourself kind of behind that 8 ball. And even if it is just a punt on the rest of the season, it's just going to make it a little tougher.
So, Nick, are you going to be both the literal and metaphorical middleman in this equation? Where are you standing on this one? Keep him, fire him, TBD?
I think you keep him right now. And I don't know if that's exactly what you're asking, but I think right now you keep him, even if they lose the next. I kind of agree with you. Once they drop below that 500, I do think those couple $1 million do matter.
Sure.
Where athletic department budgets are now that they're paying players. That's just my personal opinion, Tyler. And $3 million is a lot of money. So I think Hunter Yurachek probably wants to save that. Keep it with the football program or give Cal a little extra. He's going to use that, and he's actually going to. We're going to see benefit from that. So.
Yeah, I completely agree, and good thing we are not the ones that have to make that decision, but
Yes.
we do have to say goodbye to you off to a commercial break. Before we come back, give our final thoughts, wrap it all up here on Hog Zone with Locked On.
Zone with Locked On Razorbacks is sponsored by Bet Saracen, Arkansas's favorite sports betting app.
Welcome back into Hog Zone with Locked On. Fellas, about 3 more minutes before we can finally put this game behind us and move on to that bye week and then a trip to Neyland in Tennessee. But we have just enough time for some final thoughts. Nick, you want to go first with this one? Your final thoughts on the 56-13 Notre Dame loss.
I think the biggest thing is motivation and effort. I think that's the biggest thing that we saw that was lacking, because we know this team has good skill players. Because Sam Pitman has told us, and I trust him for the most part, and what I've seen with my eyes is a good Arkansas football team as far as most of their players. They've had some injuries here or there, but not enough to just like blame it on injuries and say this game is because of injuries. It's a lack of motivation. It's a lack of getting your team ready to play a really good team in Notre Dame. Now, maybe once you get to play another SEC team, maybe that will get them motivated. We kind of saw last year that they played better on the road than they did at home. That's been the case in some regards this year, especially for this game. So it's a lack of motivation. So that's what I want to see going forward with this Arkansas team. I don't know if firing your defensive coordinator helps that. If it does, great, do it. But just getting motivated and putting in some effort to actually care about these games. That's what I want to see.
Just really quick before I throw it to Tyler, you mentioned injuries. Jalen Brown, broken tibia and fibula today. Just want to put it out in the ether. We wish him a speedy recovery, healthy recovery, and our thoughts are with him. Tyler, final thoughts on this game here?
Yeah, I mean, goes back to what I was saying earlier, which is Hog fans deserve better. And that's kind of similar to what Nick was saying, because you're not expected to win every game. Arkansas is not a program, has never been a program, and barring some cataclysmic change, will never be a program that is college football playoff every single year. But they also should not be a program that is a bit embarrassing losses every other year, if not every year. And Sam Pitman himself said they were embarrassed. He also said they were surprised. And that's the most problematic part of that statement to me, is it starting to sound like he doesn't know what he has with this team.
He was confident earlier in the season, but
And he's confident every week, and he was surprised because they look good in practice. You got to stop being surprised. The team is what you got, and you are the one in charge of getting them ready. And to Nick's point, we also didn't see them getting up, and that's what I'm real worried about. They should be able to shut out the bye week. I don't know with this defense. But on the road, where they've excelled, against Tennessee, where they've excelled, they're set up for the ultimate turnaround. I don't see it happening, but hey, maybe.
Look, my quick thought here before we wrap up, I got to say, is don't panic. There's plenty of football left to be played. You showed you can compete against good teams like Ole Miss. Don't panic. There's plenty of time to turn it around. Hey, look, but that is all the time for us. Alex Stewart, Nick Luttrell, Tyler Cass, thank you so much for joining us on this edition of Hog Zone with Locked On.